Honoring those who lost their lives running towards disaster, the Texas fertilizer plant explosion.
A Missouri matter why some lawmakers say gun control decisions should be made in Jefferson City.
And Columbia's newest high school prepared to open. KOMU 8 News First at 5 starts now.
Live from Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU 8 News First at 5.
The state of Missouri could soon have control over its own gun regulations. Good evening, I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Angie Bailey. Thanks for joining us. If a House bill passes in the Senate before the session's over, federal gun laws will be outlawed in Missouri. KOMU 8's Allie Hines joins us in the studio to tell us more about this bill. Allie.
Last night, a Senate committee passed House Bill 436, also called the Second Amendment Preservation Act, onto the Senate. It would ease up on restrictions, giving more freedom to gun owners. If passed by the Senate, the bill will bring gun control down to the state level and make it illegal to enforce federal gun laws in Missouri. The sponsor of the bill says it's less about guns and more about starting a conversation on the role of state government.
The federal government's proven that it's not capable of doing almost anything anymore. We've proven as a state to be very capable, and truthfully, we're closer to the people than they are by far.
The Senate committee voted to pass the bill onto the full Senate by a 4-1 vote.
And the last major gun law passed in Missouri was in 2003. People older than 23 to carry concealed weapons. It made it legal. Fast forward to 2013, Missouri law currently allows anyone 21 and older with no felonies who pass a background check and training course to carry concealed guns. Then on February 5th, House Bill 436 was introduced for the first time. On April 18th, it passed in the House with a 115 to 41 vote. And yesterday, the Senate committee passed the bill on to be voted on by the Senate.
A former jail administrator at Randolph County Detention Center is charged with felony forgery. Today, the Sheraton County Sheriff's Department served Stephen Holman with a warrant for his arrest. Holman is accused of altering court documents in July 2011 for a relative who was serving a 48-hour sentence at the detention center. Holman attempted to get the inmate released early by changing arrival and departure times for the inmate. Holman admitted to the forgery after an internal investigation. KOMU 8's Micah Smith joins us in the studio with more details on the case. Micah?
I tried contacting Sheridan County Sheriff Chris Hughes to talk about the case, but he did not return my phone calls. I also tried talking to the State Attorney General's office, which has taken over the case. A representative told me that because this is an ongoing case, they are not able to comment at this time. The representative did, however, send me this felony complaint that reads, "Forgery is a Class C felony punishable by imprisonment in the Missouri Department of Corrections for a term of years not to exceed more than 7, or by a fine not to exceed $5,000. Stephen Holman has since been terminated from the Randolph County Sheriff's Office. Holman is out on bond. His next court appearance has not yet been set.
The mother of a missing Kansas City, Missouri teenager says the body found near her apartment was wearing clothes matching what her son was wearing the day he disappeared. Police confirmed this afternoon that it was the body of 14-year-old Monty Ross. Police found a body yesterday. Officers were called to the scene because Ross hadn't been seen since Sunday morning. The body was found in an open area near the family's apartment after a hand was seen sticking out of the ground. Police investigators questioned several family members, but no arrest has been made. A Columbia man has pled guilty to a federal charge of heroin distribution resulting in death. 37-year-old Ellison Lee Hutchison Jr. pled guilty today for selling heroin to Maximilian Shackelford. Shackelford was later found dead from a heroin overdose. Hutchison faces up to 22 years in prison.
The owner of Tom's, a Jefferson City smoke shop, says he woke up during the night and found a burglar inside his business. It happened early in the morning. The owner says he started yelling and throwing boxes at the man who had broken a window to get inside. The Cole County Sheriff's Office says the suspect, Zachary Cooper, ran away but was later pulled over. He was taken to the Cole County Jail, where the sheriff says he admitted to the burglary. He's being held for first-degree burglary now. The sheriff says Cooper is awaiting formal charges from the Cole County Prosecutor's Office.
Well, it was nice to check off a couple of fair weather boxes here in mid-Missouri this afternoon.
Thanks, Rosie. Columbia's newest high school is almost ready for its grand opening. Battle High School will open June 2nd for students to walk through the halls during summer school. Battle High School is planned to hold between 1,600 and 1,800 students, but only 1,100 are enrolled for the start of school year in August 2013. The building is already open to administrative staff, but no teachers have moved into the classrooms yet. Crews are working to finish the inside of the building now.
Right now we're down to just minor punch list things that need to be fixed, getting the last of the flooring installed, getting furniture in place.
The district will also hold a ribbon cutting on June 2nd, and the Battle family is expected to attend.
New information today on both the Texas explosion and the Boston bombing investigation, plus the upper Midwest prepping for even more flooding. KOMU 8's Jen Lask has your First Nation report.
Hundreds of fire trucks and ambulances from across the country lined up today, honoring those killed in the Texas plant explosion. A procession of firefighters was held before a memorial service in Waco, Texas this afternoon. The lineup for the procession was well over a mile long. 10 volunteer firefighters and first responders were killed in the fertilizer plant explosion. A landfill is now part of the search for clues in the Boston bombings case. More than a dozen federal and state investigators dressed in white suits combed through piles of trash at a solid waste facility in New Bedford. They're looking for receipts that show purchases for pressure cookers, fireworks, timers, or other evidence connecting the Boston bombing suspects to the bombings. As flooding is overwhelming many parts of the Midwest, sandbag operations got underway in Minnesota. Even students joined in the effort. 70 students took a break from their studies to sandbag. If the sandbags are needed, they'll be used to fill in the low spots and entryways to a dike system that already protects the town. And now back to the news desk for news from around the world.
The Israeli military says it shot down an unidentified drone today as it approached the country's northern coast. Suspicion immediately fell on Hezbollah in Lebanon. This is likely to raise already heightened tensions between those two groups. The Israeli prime minister says he views the infiltration with utmost gravity. The death toll from a building collapse in Bangladesh has topped 220. Rescuers continued to search for survivors and bodies under the rubble of the building today. The complex, which collapsed yesterday, housed a number of factories and hundreds of people worked there. Many friends and family members wanted near the site today to be able to identify their dead. And anti-Japan protesters in South Korea's capital burned an effigy representing the Japanese prime minister today. Demonstrators are upset over Japanese lawmakers visiting a controversial war shrine. The shrine honors convicted war criminals from World War II, along with Japan's war dead. The Korean peninsula was under Japanese colonial rule between 1910 and 1945, so South Koreans find those visits disrespectful.
One of parents' biggest concern is always the health of our kids.
New research found an interesting place may help detect signs of autism early. And the U.S. is pitching in to fight the latest round of the bird flu. Coming up in 7 minutes, find out why this version is getting so much attention.
And clouds will start to roll into mid-Missouri in our overnight hours, making way for a rainy Friday. Before our skies get cluttered up, though, we have the chance to see a pink moon here in mid-Mo. What does that mean? Well, we'll talk about it coming up after the break.
And there's a live look over Highway 63. Enjoy all that sunshine. Why? Well, you've got it, folks. Rosie says it might not be sticking around. It's 5:07. This is KOMU 8 News First at 5. Coverage you can count on.
But temperature's really going to be much, much better. We're waiting for spring finally getting here, and we'll be working into May next week.
Unbelievable.
It's going to be nice to have 70-degree temperatures to get there.
All right, thanks, Rosie.
Sure. 70s, I love it. Well, we've heard the southeast U.S. called the Bible Belt, of course.
But what about the stroke belt? Find out what a new study says about our neighbors to the south.
The H7N9 virus circulating in China has public health officials on edge there. While the number of people contracting the disease is still small, it is proving to be the most lethal form of the bird flu, with 1 out of 5 infected patients dying. As NBC's Erica Edwards reports, the CDC has sent a team of researchers to China to help with the investigation, and they're preparing for worst-case scenarios.
Lab workers at the CDC's headquarters and which type of bird is infected. Erica Edwards, NBC News.
Now, if the virus does not mutate, experts say they can effectively fight the flu by temporarily closing poultry markets, isolating infected patients, and maintaining an active surveillance system. In other health news, doctors may be able to predict a child's risk for developing autism by examining the placenta at birth. Researchers at Yale University say abnormal folds on the placenta can show them which newborn babies have older siblings with autism. Babies who have a brother or sister with the disorder have a 9 times higher risk of developing it. It's too soon to tell whether the folds accurately predict which children will, in fact, someday be diagnosed with autism. And new research suggests a nutrient found in egg yolks may promote heart disease. Lecithin is found in yolks and also beef, liver, and pork. Scientists say the bacteria living in our gut turns lecithin into a compound that can increase your risk for clogged arteries. Blood tests to detect the compound may someday predict which people are at a higher risk for heart problems. And teens growing up in the Southeast have an increased risk for stroke even if they move out of the region as adults. Researchers at the University of Alabama, Birmingham studied nearly 25,000 adults who had not suffered a stroke at the start of the study. They tracked where they lived as teens and how often they moved and followed them for at least 5 years. They found those who spent their teenage years in the stroke belt, it's called, had a 17% increased risk for stroke.
What you unexpect, the unexpected slogan for the city of Columbia, and what you have to say about it coming up in today's talk. The city of Columbia has been running a new ad campaign throughout the month of April. Take a look. We have some video from that commercial that is run in both Kansas City and St. Louis. Along with the commercial, the Convention and Visitors Bureau unveiled a new logo and slogan, "What you unexpect." The whole campaign cost the city 6 figures.
That is expensive. I think that probably a lot of us on Photoshop could have come up with that slogan.
Tonight on KOMU 8 News at 10, I'll tell you exactly what that money paid for and why the Columbia Convention and Visitors Bureau thinks it's worth the investment. And you've already started telling us what you think about the new slogan. Mark Bruning said way too much money for something a chamber of commerce can do or business themselves can do, probably a heck of a lot better and cheaper. Ed Bell said once again, Como tries to be a bigger city than it really is. And Ashton Altman said, "I think you're asking the wrong question, KOMU. You're assuming anyone would pay anything for that slogan."
Well, when one says Starburst, I know I do, maybe you think of candy, but new NASA research is trying to make you think of something else.
Columbia is a Tree City, USA, a designation honoring the town's commitment.
We found out earlier today that a former Randolph County jail administrator is being charged with felony forgery. KOMU 8's Micah Smith joins us with details on what led to the charge. Micah?
The Sheridan County Sheriff's Department served Stephen Holman with a warrant for his arrest today. Holman is accused of altering court documents in July 2011 for a relative who was serving a 48-hour sentence at the Randolph County Detention Center. The investigator says Holman attempted to get the inmate released early by changing arrival and departure times for the inmate. Holman admitted to the forgery after an internal investigation.
NASA and the European Space Agency released animations of starbursts and their effects on the galaxies they inhabit. How about that one? When galaxies form new stars, NASA says sometimes there are starbursts. During the burst, hundreds of millions of stars are born, and the combined effect can drive a powerful wind-like force that moves throughout the galaxy. Doesn't that sound weird? Astronomers use the Hubble telescope to make the observations. Wow.
I love it. Such an easy transition. Of course, the person who invented the Hubble telescope from right here in Missouri. Tomorrow, chances of rain picked up after the midnight hour. Just keep in mind, good day for the umbrella for your Friday afternoon. After that, things will be clearing up for the weekend.
Okay, thanks so much, Rosie. So enjoy that sunshine. Get out there, go for a walk. Trim the yard.
Yeah.
Lots of ladies out there hoping somebody does that. Thanks for joining us.